Your strategy is only a tool. Let the market be your guide. And we'll go to the charts and I'll talk about how I'm trading crude oil. Let me take you to this week's NinjaTrader Charting Edge. This week we're going to talk about crude oil. This is the market that I'm most actively trading right now and only to the long side, and let me show you why. First off, I pulled up a weekly chart here. You know I love my Bollinger Bands, 20 period, 3 standard deviation Bollinger Bands. The gold line is the middle Bollinger Band, 20-week moving average because we got a weekly chart, and the red is the 10-week simple moving average. I love the weekly chart to talk about the big picture primary trend. First off, with crude oil right now, we have fundamentals and technicals working together. So it's another reason why that this is my primary market, trading only to the long side. Now I want to show you something I've noticed that I think is extremely important when determining trend. And this week we're going to talk about crude oil. First off, you know when the Bollinger Bands open up, I love that look. When a market's hugging a Bollinger Band with the mouth open, to me, I love that direction. So here you can see the mouth of the Bollinger Band was open, and crude oil was hugging below the 10-week moving average, and until it got above the 10-week moving average and the mouth of the Bollinger Band closed, that trend was dominant to the short side. Consolidation for a period of time, you see that same look here. Below the 10-week moving average, mouth of the Bollinger Band is open, saw extended sell-off for several weeks, and until we got to close above that 10-week moving average and the mouth of that Bollinger Band closed, then we consolidated. Now let's take you to here. Above the 10-week, mouth open. Above the 10-week, mouth open. That's where we are right now. So to me, because we have fundamentals and headlines alongside with technicals, this move can go on for a lot longer than you think. And I know some people are going to think I'm probably crazy for saying this, but I think that we're pretty close in the coming days or maybe weeks to be taking out this recent high right around 130 in crude oil. And the reason I say it is because this is the strongest look I have on my charts, along with fundamentals coinciding with it. And that's when we get the biggest moves and things happen in the market that we never thought could happen. I actually want to zoom into this weekly chart and show you something that I'm using to help me execute to the long side. Now here we are at the crude oil weekly chart zoomed in. What I did was, as I changed the 10-week moving average to the 5-week moving average. The reason is because that 10-week moving average was way too far away, and it's very hard for me as a swing trader to be able to manage my risk when the stops could be 20, 30 bucks in crude oil. That's just way too far. So I put the 5-week up just to look at it and see how did that look. And what you see here is not 1 week of a close below the 5-week moving average. And that has moved up to 105.80, and that'll continue to probably rapidly move up. And until I see a close below that 5-week moving average, to me, I'm only looking at the long side. So I take the same strategy that I'm looking at with Bollinger Bands, still using a moving average as my long-term guide, but because the move is so fierce, I just shrink the time of that moving average and I go to a 5-week to help guide me with executing my longs, and it actually helps me with managing my risk because I know if we get a weekly close below 105.80 or wherever that 5-week moving average is, I could sit back and wait to see maybe we go back down to the 10-week moving average, hold, and then I could start that process over again. And maybe we get a little bit closer to where I could manage my risk a little bit better. So my point of all of this is to use the same strategy and the same tools, but sometimes when market gets really volatile, you just shrink the time frame of one of the indicators you're using to help you manage risk. To tie in what I was talking about today when trading crude oil, I put this tweet out the other day. One of the most difficult things I had to learn as a trader is to allow things to be what they are and just go with it. If it's working, go with it. Press it. If it's not, get out, reevaluate. Your strategy is only a tool. Let the market be your guide. I actually want to take you back to that crude oil weekly chart to show you how I'm using this mindset to trade crude oil. Like I mentioned when I was going over the crude oil weekly chart and this 5-week simple moving average as a tool to keep me buying dips in crude oil until I see a weekly close below it. I'm going to keep pressing this trade. I'm going to press it and do it until it stops working. I think too many traders think about making money on a trade and then stopping or laying off of it, or maybe even looking to pick a top. Why would you do that? When something's working, you have to take full advantage of it until it stops working. We as traders can't determine just from us trading when it will stop. Here you have a simple 5-week moving average that I'm using to say, look at Anthony, as long as it keeps holding above this, only look long, keep buying dips. If the market starts going your way, press them and take those winners as far as you can. Still be smart about it, but don't lay off this trade. Don't be the trader who's looking to pick the top. Don't be the trader who's laying off it because you think it may be done. The strategy you choose is just a tool. It's up to us as traders to execute that strategy. The best executors get the most out of a strategy. So for me, a simple, big picture 5-week moving average just tells me when I look at my shorter term strategy, stay on the bid. Keep buying dips, keep doing it and pressing it until it stops working. We have all seen some of these markets do things that we never thought were possible. And most traders will stop doing what's working and potentially even step in and try and fade it. To me, that is the biggest mistake we can make. Sometimes some things just work for much longer than we think. So why get in front of that? Go with it. As my one friend Merritt Black said in the tweet that I put out, be water. And what he means by that is allow things to be what they are. Go with the flows. Don't step in front of things that are working. When things are working and you're making money, I'm a big believer in, keep doing what's working and press it until it doesn't. Yes, at the end, you will give some money back, but if you continue to do something that's working, as long as something like this has, giving money back at the end, that's just part of this business. So don't be afraid to press when things are going well. Be water. We talked a lot about trading crude oil today, and in this volatility, that big CL contract might be a little bit too much for you guys to manage your risk. Don't forget about the micro crude oil contract. That is 1/10 the size of 1 CL. The symbol is MCL. To learn more, go to cmegroup.com. Last thing I want to talk about today is lately I've clicked out of a lot of losers and it feels like I'm getting crushed, when in reality, I'm doing pretty good. The moral of this story is just get flat when a trade's not working. Getting flat clears the mind to a fresh perspective. Move on to your next trade with minimal baggage. I'd love to tell you it's been really clean being long crude oil lately, but that is absolutely not the case. I've clicked out of a ton of losers being long crude oil lately, and for me, this tweet really stemmed from that, is that I've done really well trading that market, but I've had a bunch of losers along the way. But there's one thing I'm consistent with, looking to buy dips and looking to press winners. And we all know as traders, those losers always hurt a lot more than the winners. But for me, knowing that I have a look that I really want to trade and that's long in crude oil, I'm going to take some losses along the way. But go to my next trade with minimal baggage. Don't just sit there and hold on to something because you know you want to be long. I've said a bunch of times, it's not about the destination and where you think a market could go. It's about executing the journey. Traders, I want to hear from you. What's your favorite market to trade right now and why? Let me know in the comments down below. Never miss an episode of Develop Your Edge. Click that subscribe button right there. You could also DM me on Twitter at Anthony Crudele. And don't forget to check out Instagram. I say it every week. Got a bunch of cool stuff, different from what's happening on Twitter there. Anthony C. Crudele. That's a wrap for today. See you next week.